Okay.
Broadcasting live. I have a side computer here with the
Mm-hmm.
link, so it's
Yeah,
on
that's
mute,
what you
but
have
I
to do.
want to see.
That's what you have to do.
Mm-hmm. Yay! I see a lot of chat going on about.
There we go.
Hey, look at
Hello,
that!
everyone. We are back. We are back. We are back.
I see a lot of awesome conversation in the chat.
Yes. Okay. We are on presentation number 3. And we now have a wonderful presenter. Um, she is from the great state of Texas. She's a middle school librarian. And without further ado, please welcome Wendy Prey.
Hello, everyone. I am so happy that you all are here. You could be anywhere else on a beautiful Saturday morning, but you are hanging out with Casey Boyd and friends. And I am very happy to be here with you all to present something that is very near and dear to my heart and something that I know anyone can create no matter where you are in your librarian career. And this is creating student leaders in your library. And so, let me just introduce myself to you. A lot of the reasons why I created a library ambassador program have to do with my previous experience in the workforce before I became an educator. And so I wanted to share that with you guys because a lot of the elements that I learned in the private sector really influenced what I created for my students. Now, the primary need for me was I am a sole librarian in a middle school, no paraprofessionals, no help of any kind. And so I quickly discovered that I could not do everything on my own. And so I had inherited some library aides from how the school ran things. So it was an elective course, a local elective course, which means there's really no credit for it, but students had the option to embed it into their curriculum. And of course, grades were tight, even though there were kind of informal grades. But I used that pool of students that were already coming in to help me. And so, in order for me to create something for them that was relevant, I took in my hospitality industry. The customer service is very strong in all of my previous private sector jobs that I had. I worked in a municipality for 5 years in different departments of the city. I also worked for a state agency. And then I became an English teacher. So I have secondary English experience. I've taught everything from sixth grade to seniors to college transition to state assessment remediation courses, practical writing courses. And then I became a librarian. So I'm starting my 7th year in the library, and this is my 2nd year in a new campus. And so I'm also going to share with you guys some um, advice and some encouraging thoughts on how to take something that you had that was so awesome in a previous environment and implement it and modify it to something that your new environment needs. I use a lot of tech tools to communicate with my staff and my students and to build the library program in a way that's easily accessible for all my stakeholders. So I use Google Apps. I am a Google certified trainer. Wakelet is a huge tool for me. I'm also a Wakelet ambassador. In my library ambassador course that I have, I embed Ed Puzzle videos. I also show my students how to use Canva, and I am an Adobe educator as well, so they do use Adobe. I'm a Flip ambassador, and I use Moat to provide feedback. So think of the tools that you have already. Don't reinvent the wheel. How can I implement what I already know and what I know I'm good at to build something that is tailored to my needs? And so, one of the 2 things that I want you guys to go away with today is how am I going to establish something or the foundations of a leadership program that meet the needs of my library and my community? And and myself. Let's not fool everybody. What do I need as a librarian to be able to provide this service for my stakeholders? How can you create something to guide the students that you're building along the way? So establishing that foundation is very important. So that's one of the huge takeaways for today. And then, of course, empowering your students. How am I going to reach out to them? How am I going to recruit them? It also depends what level you're in. I've had the pleasure of presenting with librarians in the state of Texas that have elementary library ambassadors or helpers or aides. There's a lot of names for them. And how we're going to provide the opportunities to be creative, to be helpful. And ultimately, I think leadership is born from taking ownership of a space or anything that you belong to. Once you feel like you're a stakeholder and like you really own that, then you have more pride and you do good by it. I guess it's more innate. It's not so much force. So how do I do that for my kids? How do I maintain the leaders that were born in the library? How do I just don't want to have them in the library and help me and, child labor. No, like how do I implement? How do I give back to you? How can I give you something besides the awesome love of reading, besides the, behind the scenes intel on how a library program runs, but how can I give you something that you can take beyond the world of academia, something that you're going to be able to cash into long after you and I part ways? And so taking in consideration what level you're in, if you're in elementary, if you're in middle school, if you're in high school, these are 5 steps that I can share with you that will lead your students into leadership. So the first step is to assess the need of your community, to assess the need that you have as a librarian, as the administrator of your library program. What do you need? What do my teachers need? What do my students need? What does my admin team need? What do my parents need? And root all of that in customer service. How can I embed the skills that are needed? I don't want to call them soft skills, because for you to deal with people, it doesn't take a softie to do that. You need to be very, not only I think it needs to be innate to be a people person, but there's empathy involved, there's self-awareness involved. There's a lot of things that people need to be able to effectively communicate with people face to face. Of course, digitally as well, but it's the face-to-face engagement that I believe leaves the most lasting impressions. So how do I embed customer service skills into my program? How do I market my program? Ultimately, I want the students to promote the library. How do I show them that they can be leaders by plugging into a library? How am I going to market that to them? How am I going to give them personal skills, digital presentation skills? I want them to be able to be confident when presenting online like I'm doing now. How do I give them the confidence and the belief in themselves to be able to market who they are and what they know? And then that will equip them to lead beyond the library. Not only are you taking what you're learning, your love of reading, everything that I'm teaching you about customer service and people skills, and I want you to be a leader outside of here. And I want you to be able to remember and I'm going to be honest, guys, I want them to say, hey, I am who I am today because of my librarian and everything she taught me in the library, everything I learned about the library and how it works. The library is not what people think it is. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you what plugging into my library did for me. So that's what I want them to say. So without further ado, let's take a dive into creating a library leadership program for students, and all in the efforts to build the foundations for that real world experience that they're going to get. Now, step 1, as I mentioned, do a needs assessment. What I did is I pulled everybody. I pulled my kids, my teachers. What do those students need? First of all, let's look at some of the things that are important for curriculum and instruction. What do the students want for fun, to expand their mind in other areas? What does the library need to give them so that they can accomplish that? All stakeholders, what do you need to provide the service everyone deserves from you? From your collection, from your books, from your professional development, if that's what you do, from, like Walmart greeters. Do you need someone, a student in leadership, to greet people at the door? Do they need to feel welcomed? Do they want a space where they can de-stress so they can shed all anxiety at the door? What is it that they need? You can assess this in different ways. You can reach out with a Google form, which is what I did. A lot of teachers and ed tech coaches will say, you know what, sometimes teachers just don't respond to Google Forms. Maybe ask your admin, hey, can I have, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to present something in a faculty meeting? Or can I share something on a mass communication method that you have? Like some admins have Remind, other people communicate through Microsoft Teams. What is it? How can I share this with everyone so that I can get the most accurate, reliable data? Because I'm going to have to work with this assessment in a couple of ways, not just to create my ambassador program, but to evaluate it. What worked, what didn't work, what needs to change, what can I tweak? Reach out to your teachers, sit in the meetings, have casual conversations, any way that you possibly can. Gather that data and document that data so that can help you build that up. I created a Google form. Like I said, if you're savvy with Google Apps, I create sections depending on your role. It goes to a different set of questions. Some questions are for everyone. Other questions are role specific. And so then you can derive your data in a more purposeful way that way. And these are some of the sample questions or topics that I added in my questionnaire. What's your favorite genre? What would you like to learn about? How for my teachers and my students, and this can be more applicable at higher level, which is high school. How confident are you using this app? Teachers, do you know about taking technology to the next level? How much do you know about design thinking? How much do you know about creating more valuable lessons that integrate technology in a purposeful way, not just as a substitute? What do you know about content? What do you want to know about certain things? What does your perfect library look like? If you could have the perfect library in the world, what would that be? And so these ideas will help not only establish what you want your ambassadors to do, but maybe even I've heard Amanda Jones talk about a 5-year plan. I can't do this right now, but man, it would be awesome if I had A, B, C, and D. That's totally plugging into my 5-year plan, either with your ambassadors or with your programming. So your survey can do a lot of things for you. So those are just some ideas I wanted to share with you for that. Once you have that done, and once you assess the results, okay, I'm going to create a syllabus. Tap back into when you were a teacher, right? I consider myself a forever English teacher. That is your plan. That is the expectation for your students. What is it that your volunteers, your aides, your library interns, I've heard them called library managers, what is it that they can expect when they come to you, when they fill out an application, which we'll talk about, which is the next step? But what is going to guide me through the year? Guys, I strongly recommend you create a graphic syllabus. Make it pop. Use the visual elements. I know we heard Tim talking about visual elements. Use all of those structures so that you can get kids to gravitate to this document, because this is going to be a document that's going to drive your program, at least for year one. You're always going to have a syllabus, but you're going to change it, you're going to modify it, but that's going to be your guide. Whenever students ask, what can I get out of this? Or what is that? So what is a library intern? Or what do you mean library manager? What do you mean? This is what I want the kiddos to take from it. Use Canva. I created mine on Pictochart. Canva has a ton of templates on very many different things. Syllabi are included in there. You can go good old, Google Slides, PowerPoint. Use a graphic of your choice. Make them simple. Don't flood them with words. Make them direct, and then showcase what you want for your kids to know. You can even add Mote voice notes. If you guys don't know about Mote, it is an awesome extension to where you can record and link to all of your voice recordings. Make it more personable, make it approachable. I did include a link in the presentation. I will provide this to Casey so that you guys will have a copy of this presentation. So I linked my sample there. You could tweak it, modify it, whatever it is that you need. I will say this, because my first experience with ambassadors involved tying into a class, an official class. I was an official teacher of record. And that meant I had to take attendance. Everything a teacher does, I had to do, from grades, progress reports, everything that my teacher had encompassed, I had to do. So in my syllabus, I abided by the district grading policy. And so anything I would do as a teacher to refer to that policy, I did here. And so that students knew, okay, what were considered major grades, which were displays, interactions on the telephone, commercials that they did on their displays. All of these were big project assignments, big assignments. So these were major grades. Minor grades were things like shelving, things that you do more on the day-to-day, like all the time, greeting customers at the door, taking messages for me, things like that were considered minor grades. Just to give you guys an idea if you are going to be in that same boat as well. Now that you have your assessment, you've derived the data and created a syllabus that's going to address some of the needs on that assessment, it's time for you to market your program. So these are the 4 steps that I recommend to market your program. First and foremost, create an application. One of my goals deriving from my previous experience was students need to know what it's like to apply for an actual job. I don't want them, and I treated the ambassador program, guys, as an actual job. So there was no such thing as homework. Time management was huge, right? Clocking in, clocking out, monitoring the effective use of your time, working with others. It was very driven by my previous experience in the private sector. So I wanted them to have the whole experience, make an application. Now, guys, be like a teacher first year, beg, steal, and borrow. I tapped into my clubs. I was like, hey, does anybody have an application? Yearbook? Hey, do you guys have an application for your photographers? Or can anybody lend me something, or I can tweak it? So that's how I got my application. And of course, I modified it to fit my needs. Announce it. Different ways to announce it, social media, announcements, etc. And then program a time, and this is totally up to you, but I like to, again, right, give them the real world experience, give them a short interview. I think with older students in high school, I would do it a little bit more formal. But for middle school, which is where I am, or for elementary, do something short. And I'm talking like, oh, thank you for returning your application. So how do you like it? Well, let me see, just make sure everything's complete. Oh, I see that you like to use Google Slides. Can you tell me about that? What was your favorite thing that you did? Super short and sweet. Gauge the student's personality. How am I going to work with you? What is it that I can, how can I celebrate you, and how can I build you up? Those things, super short and sweet, nothing crazy that's going to stress the student out. And then if you want to recruit, well, you know what? Nothing's been done. I don't have a class. There's no such thing as an office aide, no such thing as a library aide on the schedule. Like, work with your counselors. They know the students well. They know the students in a different or they see the students through a different lens as well. Tap into your clubs, student council, leadership clubs, or anyone that is, I'm going to be honest, guys, all the clubs need community service hours. Reach out through that avenue as well. And then, of course, you always have your frequent flyers in the library. That's like your number one step 1 into marketing the program as well. So think about everyone. Now, this is a timeline as to how it's going to look. Tap into your sponsors, make the application. Once you have the application, shoot it out on social media, record yourself on Canva. I don't know if you guys can do that. Use Flip. Remember, I use Wakelet. They have a Flip integration. Do that. Application pro tip, include a teacher reference form. That is also real world. What is what they need to know? How do you ask? And I have everything included in the application. You give it to the teacher. The teacher doesn't give it back to the applicant. The teacher gives it back to the company, right? Me. You have an informal chat. This is a perk of paper applications. When they turn them in, then you have a chance to review them and talk to them. And then, of course, connect with your counselors. That's a little bit of the timeline, how that's supposed to look. Figure out how it should look for you. You tailor it to how you want. One of the huge perks about the ambassador program is presentation skills. As I work with them with the customer service it takes a lot of building, guys. I know some of us, like, I know I'm guilty of it. I thought, oh my God, you do all the TikToks and you're always on Insta. You know, you like being on camera. You like talking to people. You're out there. You could do it. That's not the case. A lot of kids freeze, and I don't know why they just become paralyzed. And so there's a lot of coaching involved in a more professional environment. And so I guide them all the time in their presentation skills. I want them to be versatile. Now, with the modern, you know, I think the pandemic forced a lot of things to become digital. And so they need to be more versatile. How are you with personal presentations? That's never going to go away. You know, greet customers face to face. When you work the library, they are your customers. Outside, they are your peers. You know that differentiation, you know, have them know that they are respected and how you address them. Welcome to the library. I'm so and so. How can I help you? Things like that. And then also a digital presence. You know, not only are you getting to know your library, your section of shelving, for example, you're building a display for it. And then I also want you to record a commercial for it. Do a QR code and put it there and have your peers see you talk about this amazing display that you made, you know, highlighting Women's History Month or what have you. So I wanted to combine both things because in the real world, if you go into marketing, advertising, whatever, you are going to be able to have that confidence and that poise and that presentation. And so all of this I put together for them. And actually, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I do all of this through Google Classroom. I know I said I was a Google trainer, but that's what we use in school. You can use Canvas as well, Schoology, whatever it is that you use to house all of these things and then share them. I do have a class for my ambassadors. Now, what does the day-to-day look like? I mentioned a little bit about it before. They greet customers at the door. They learn how to answer the phone. They support teacher and student requests, right? Basic errands. And then for the big projects, they record commercials on any display that they create. They interact with their colleagues on Flipgrid, and I teach them, guys, how to provide feedback. You always have to work with people. You will always work with people in your life on this earth. So you need to know how to come to a place where you can be respectful of each other and provide constructive feedback for each other. And I show them something that I learned in my teacher certification school, which is the hamburger method, right? Or the sandwich method. The breads are positives, the fillings are points of improvement. And I do coach them on how to communicate that to each other. And they use Flip to respond to their commercials and provide feedback. So that's an ongoing thing that they build. Now, when something that I saw about probably year 3 in my library program was seeing the students be leaders outside of the library. And it wasn't from them. The teachers started to call me and they started to say, Miss Prey, is so-and-so your ambassador? Oh my goodness, they are tutoring kids in the library using tech tools. Everything, I have seen the quality of their work go from here to here. You know, they have just, or even in their social emotional learning, they're like, they used to be just so shy or just insecure and afraid, and they aren't anymore. Like, I have seen their confidence blossom, y'all. That made me so happy. I began to incorporate things like the Wakelet Student Ambassador Program into my internship, into my library leadership. You know, I had them start getting badges. One of the first badges they got was Master Screencast Junior. We use Screencastify in my district. It's a short 10-minute course. They got that, and I was just celebrating the heck out of everybody. Oh my God, so-and-so got this badge, so-and-so, look at this, and they got a certificate, and look at the great collection they made, and this presentation is amazing, and they took this and ran with it. I mean, I just started to see them grow in different ways, launching their own podcast. People in my book club, which were not ambassadors, in my book club, oh, Miss, can we do that too? Let's jump in, and I want to do podcasts, I want to do this and that. Guys, they started to be agents of change. It could not have filled my heart more. And so they were actually, you know, savvy in all of these tech tools, and I was so happy to see them grow. Sierra was one of my ambassadors during the pandemic, which is a way that I was like, I felt lost because I said, my word, the library ambassador program needs to be in person. How do I do this virtually? Wakelet to the rescue, Wakelet Student Ambassador Program. And we do a lot of goal setting as well at the beginning. There's a lot I'm leaving out of this presentation, by the way, of what I do with the kiddos. But at the end, I have them reflect. Just the way I have a reflective tool in my needs assessment and in my data, students have their own reflection piece, their own data that they are examining informally, even though they probably don't have any clue that they're doing it. But they learn things about themselves. Savannah says that she overcame the fear of working with people. She didn't think that she would ever be a leader, and the library program did that for her. And so this is something that you get to do. You get to witness their growth. You get to celebrate it with them. So these are some things that you can do to mentally prepare. You feel like there's this huge mountain. No, be patient with yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you have one, two, any student buy-in, it's good. One of the things that helped me figure out what I was going to do each month was a library planning calendar. It's okay. I know now as a librarian, this is my 7th year in, I don't have to do banned books week in September. I don't. But if that's what you need to hold on to launch this thing, hey, do what you need to do to make it work for you. Whatever your kiddos want. Oh, Miss Bray, can we do this instead of that? Hey, man, run with it. That's really what I want you to do. I want you to take ownership of it. I want you to feel comfortable with it. And I want to highlight you as you do that. So prepare to change it up. I know, like, I'm a recovering control freak. It's okay to change. Guys, growing is a good thing. It means that it worked. It's evolving. It's something that's not going to go away. It's something that you can always build up. So it's okay to change. It's a good sign to grow. I do want to encourage you. You can do this. I did it year one. Year one. It's like, what? Do I even know what I'm talking about? Yes, I do. Be confident in yourself. You can do this. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please reach out on my social media or on BioLink. I do have other things there highlighting the ambassador program. I talked to Amy Herman on School Librarians United for a whole hour about it. And so I want to just encourage you to do that and to be awesome.
That's right. That's the name of the game, being awesome.
Yeah.
So everyone, give Wendy some love in the chat. I'm going to try and pop them on the screen so she can see all the comments that are coming through. Excellent job. I know that it's a lot to present so much content in a short 25-minute segment, but guess what? You did it.
Yeah, I
Hey.
did do it. I was like, oh man, just keeping like a chameleon, one eye on the clock and another eye on the presentation.
Exactly. I'm going to try and put all these on the screen as fast as I can.
No, I'm seeing
So
them.
you
I got another
guys,
computer here on the side looking at all the awesome things. Guys, thank you all so much. So much. There's so many versions of this out there. Please reach out to your PLN. I mean, it's just so much. There's so many versions of being awesome with your kiddos and building leaders in your library. And I'm so happy to be a librarian and to be able to share this with you guys. It makes me so happy. It's where my heart is at. So thank you so much, Casey.
no, thank you. Thank you for answering the call out of all the friends. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Well, you know what? We're coming up on our very first break, y'all. So we're going to end a little early. Our next session is going to begin at 12 noon, and that's 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So please, by all means, come back, and we have another 3 sessions before we take lunch. All right, we'll see you in a little bit. Bye now.
Bye.